I've been doing this TikTok book marketing experiment for about 2.5 weeks now, roughly, and I just can't anymore. I need to stop. Hi, sweet girl. You want to come say hi? Yeah? Okay, we've got a chatty baby here, so we'll see how this goes. What was I even trying to say? Being online and sort of constantly ingesting content has just been really bad for my mental health, and I just kind of realized, I don't know, halfway-ish through this experiment that I was like, I can't do this anymore, and I need to do something that's good for me, that fills me up creatively. Yeah, big smiles. So I decided to come back to writing. If you saw my 2025 goals video, oh my gosh, you're chatty today. I love it. Then you would have seen that I said I might potentially come back to writing in April, and it's mid-March when I'm recording this. So really, it's only a couple weeks early. You're just really cute today. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Really? Oh my gosh. You're kidding. Tell me more. Here, let me sit you up on the couch. We've got a lot of ground to cover because I haven't got to just sit down and chat with you like a friend in so long. So this feels really good, even though I apologize in advance for how scattered I'm gonna be, because this cutie, yeah, you're super cute, is very distracting in the best way. Really? I should do a mama writer update first before before we talk marketing and books. Yeah? Alright, you're smart. Let's do that. Yeah. Okay. She's about to laugh, I think. That you're getting really close. Yeah. I don't know when it happens. I forget. But you're sure talking. Nobody tells you how much harder it is to go from one kid to two. I think everybody's different, and it depends on the kid. Because honestly, she's a very easy baby. Yes, you are. You're mostly happy most of the time. But I don't know. Okay, so you're more confident, right? Because you know what you're doing. It's not like the first time around where I'm Googling everything. Is this normal? But it's also just more overwhelming because I'm trying to take care of my toddler as well, and he's needing stuff while she's needing stuff, and it's just the naps never align, so my me time is totally shot, which, you know what? That's okay. And Zion has this thing where he has cute aggression, if you've ever heard of that. That's where, like, if somebody goes, oh, the baby's so cute, I could just eat it. That's cute aggression. So he's like in love with her to the point of obsession. So he'll get right up within an inch of her face and he'll be like, Sayla, I love you. I love you, I love you. Yeah, that's what he does to you, isn't it? And then he'll yell and scream and jump around you. We're almost at 3 months already, Sayla. She's 11 weeks tomorrow. And by the time you see this, probably past 3 months. Really? And we're still figuring it out. So one day at a time. Every time I start talking, you talk? Yeah, is that how it works? Okay, I got the height a little bit wrong for this part, but it's too late now. We're locked in. Anyway, let's talk about the TikTok book marketing while she's eating. I feel like TikTok marketing is like the best book marketing option right now. And it just is blowing up for some authors, but only if the book is spicy. Let me know if you feel that way too, or if that's just me. I've actually tried to jump on the TikTok bandwagon multiple times in the past few years. Like the first time I remember was right before my son was born in the end of 2021. And I remember being shocked by how fast the account grew because I know I hit over 1,000 followers in less than a month. But as soon as my son was born, I just completely dropped it. And then, I don't know, 2 or 3, maybe 4 other times. You okay? And then a few other times I tried, but I would always fall off the bandwagon. Like I just couldn't keep up with the daily posting, even though I post on Instagram frequently. I don't know. I don't know what it was about the app, but I just was like, I can't add another thing to my plate. So I would always fall off. And also my content. Oh my gosh, you don't want me to talk? I gotta talk quieter because she's getting mad at me. Fast forward to the beginning of this month when I started this sort of TikTok book marketing experiment after watching 2 videos. First, Katie Wismer. I already shouted out her video once. I loved it. It was so good. And then I think the YouTube algorithm was like, oh, you want to know more about TikTok? So it sent me this video by Kate Hall. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a step-by-step tutorial basically for a very effective book marketing technique. I would definitely recommend that you watch her video because she breaks it down so much better than I'm going to, but the very, very brief summary is that she recommends using what she calls slides, the ones where you can swipe to read you know, each one, like 20 to 30, just a simple background image, and then basically a section or excerpt, I guess you should call it, of the book that is an intriguing part of the story, one that has some sort of emotional resonance. That's kind of a hint at one of the things that I think I did wrong already, but I'll get into that. So for me, what it looked like is I did not know what parts of my story to pick, like what was a good excerpt. I was really struggling with that, so I actually went into my Kindle highlights, which you can do if you have your book on like a Kindle app. You can find out what your readers are highlighting. So I was looking at that and I was like, okay, this is helpful. I will try some of these pieces of story. I created a spreadsheet, and because Kate recommended doing 20 to 30 slides, I used each line, box, whatever on the spreadsheet. I would like kind of figure out how much would fit there and what I wanted to like move over to the next one. And I would just kind of figure out what I wanted to keep, what I wanted to include, because like some things aren't really relevant. It's harder than it sounds because you're kind of rewriting it to fit TikTok. So you don't include everything. Like sometimes you don't include scenery, or you don't include the characters moving in certain ways, but other times it's like, well, I kind of need to include this. I really struggled with that as well, but eventually I kind of got a grasp on it, and I would just fill it out, and then I would create a sort of like hook for the very first slide that would kind of set up the story. Again, this was really hard because imagine, okay, I think this would be easier if I was writing like contemporary books, but imagine with fantasy where you got to set up, you know, my character can read minds and she's in this fantasy world that is a retelling of Aladdin, and other people have gifts too, but she's not allowed to have it because she's a woman, and there's a whole setup and reason for that, blah, blah, blah. But you just sort of have to dive into it, and the reader doesn't know that. So it was really tricky because most of the scenes that readers loved would in some way, shape, or form need me to set up that she could read minds. I mean, it's a very fundamental part of the story because she is hiding this ability and then later on trying to get rid of it, and then later on, tiny spoiler, plug your ears, but learning to accept it. Anyhow, you're listening really close. Thank you. Yes, you are. So I would get this all together, then I would go into Canva and I would find some sort of background that didn't seem too overwhelming. At first I tried scenery, and then I tried people, I tried cartoons, I tried like real people, I tried showing no faces, and I tried showing faces, and I just kind of tried things. And then I would put the text over it, right? And it would just be the same background for every slide, but different text. And I would download it from Canva to my computer, then send it over to my phone, then upload it to TikTok. And then the last steps would be to add music and a caption before posting it, right? It wasn't that hard. It just took a lot of time because I actually, I had like a note in my phone for different captions that I could use and hashtags. And with music, I was just kind of guessing. I'm not sure. I did not know what I was doing with that at all. Let's just be real. But about 2 weeks in, I just hit a wall. I was like, this is so hard. Every night, I was like, oh gosh, I haven't posted to TikTok yet. It was like lucky if I posted before 9 p.m. So I'd be working after these two went to sleep, and I would be exhausted. You know, it's postpartum life. I thought that I was committing to a small, like 5-minute task, but it definitely takes more time than that, at least while you're figuring out your hooks, which I had to keep trying new ones because I wasn't sure what was effective. And then it was just time consuming because, you know, like creating the graphics, getting them from the computer to my phone to TikTok, with the music and the captions. And what I was finding is like by the time I finally posted, I would just sit there scrolling TikTok, and that was also really bad for my mental health. So I think maybe the posting itself isn't bad so much as the fact that when you're on social media, you tend to be on it as well. You know what I mean? Like you tend to consume more of it. And that is what I found was really hard on me. For whatever reason, it seems like TikTok shows me a lot of negative stuff more than Instagram does. A lot of baby stuff that's sometimes very scary, like people talk about how their baby died or whatever, and then I'm laying awake for hours after that just thinking about it. Or, you know, somebody will go on a rant, something that's frustrating, and then I'll be thinking about that. All that to say, I don't think I really have to explain to you guys how social media can sometimes just be really bad for our mental health and just consuming it too much. And being that I'm in this postpartum phase, I'm only not even 3 months yet, I feel like I'm more vulnerable than usual as well. Like I'm just more emotional. I don't know. I just know that I was noticing I was unhappy. I wasn't enjoying work. And when I literally only have these tiny pockets of time to work that I could be using for myself, I want to be doing something that makes me happy. All that leads to why I decided to pivot over to writing, because it's something that brings me joy and just fills me up So I will tell you guys more about that in a minute. I'm gonna go put her to sleep. Okay, I forgot to say this before we switch into the writing side of this talk. I just want to say why I think the TikTok marketing experiment kind of failed. And I'm gonna call it a failure because I know for a fact that there are authors who will hit like 4 or 5, maybe even 6-figure like months with TikTok, okay? I know that things can go viral and explode, and that is my like bar that I have set. So seeing my sales increase by like, I don't know, 2 or 3 books in the entire 2-week experiment, that's not cutting it for me. That's not a success, in my opinion. So I think I was doing a few things wrong, and I also think I was just still kind of getting the algorithm used to me. Before I even say that, I should say technically I didn't do the full month-long experiment either. I only made it, you know, halfway to 2 weeks, and I wanted to do longer. So I don't know. I still would count it as a failure, but more like I just want to try again in the future when I'm more ready. But I do have some takeaways. Number 1 is I don't think I was using the right parts of my story. So what I mean by that is I was going for, again, those Kindle reader highlights, the things that readers were like, oh my gosh, I love this. Like, my favorite quote from the book is like, I was not a weak woman, I could save myself. And I just like that line a lot, and readers like it too. But those are fun, but they're not necessarily emotional. I'm gonna keep going with a little babe here who needs just a little help to fall asleep before I put her back down. Oh, this is so scattered. Thank you for being patient with me. Anyway, I was saying that my hooks are not necessarily hooking, if you know what I mean. That sounds so bad. They're not doing their job because they're interesting, but they're not necessarily always evoking an emotion. That is the underlying thing. So I've talked about this before, but my critique partner, Brittany Wang, does a different type of content where she compares her books to different movies, for example, or like characters that people love. It's the same underlying emotion. Like she'll say, if you watched Pirates of the Caribbean and you loved Will and Elizabeth, you know, then you'll love my characters. Well, that is automatically making people think of how they felt when they were watching those movies. This sort of emotional resonance. I don't know, I kind of feel like I had it in some of my hooks, but then other hooks, they were just like funny or entertaining, but not necessarily like, I don't know, Kate Hall was talking about loneliness and rejection can be some of the strongest hooks. So I was like, oh gosh. And I went looking for a hook like that, and I couldn't figure out how to include it in a small little, you know, TikTok post without a ton of context, because again, fantasy books, mind reading, what happened to the characters, you know, leading up to this moment. There's a moment where Caden finds out about her gift and he's super pissed off, but I could not figure out how to put it into a post if you didn't know, you know, a lot of backstory. That was roughly when I stopped. This is insane. Please just ignore the hair, okay? I don't know what's going on. But the second thing that I wanted to bring up was some of these posts I would repost over to Instagram. Not all of them, because I felt a little bit like I want to overwhelm people who know about my books already. I always have felt like Instagram shows stuff to people who are already following you, while TikTok shows your stuff to new people, usually. So I did less of the posts on Instagram, but I think I did like 4 maybe. Funny enough, that was where people were actually commenting things like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna go buy this, you know, this makes me want to read it. So I'm like, why is this kind of content performing well on Instagram but not on TikTok? And that leads to my third thing that I wanted to mention, which is Kate said that you kind of have to do this for about a month before the algorithm will figure it out and know like who to show your content to. So I didn't really give it enough time, and maybe if I stick it out in the future, it will actually start to perform well. I don't know. The fourth takeaway was I was getting really frustrated with having to download, you know, 20 to 30 graphics every single day. And then I would have to delete them, but they still exist in your deleted folder or whatever on your phone. So it was still taking up space, and I already don't have enough space. And if I have to choose between TikTok and taking pictures of this cutie, you know what I'm gonna pick. And last but not least, I also realized as I was doing this experiment that you can't rely on vanity metrics, which are, you know, the likes and the comments and all those kind of things that look good to other people, follows even, because when your content's actually successful, like for me, when I have actually bought books because of posts like this, I never actually engage with the post because I am too busy going, oh my gosh, I want to read that, and jumping over to Amazon or wherever else to buy the book. You know what I mean? Or to look at the book. I don't always buy it, but I do buy them a lot because this emotional hook is so successful in all its different forms. Ultimately, I could have probably kept going and learned a lot more, and I think I can eventually figure out, you know, what types of hooks are best for my books, and I want to. So I do want to come back and do a more full-term experiment in the future. But I kind of fizzled out by accident, and then I just like let it go for my mental health again. Like I said, I realized this is not the season. This is not the right time. It's okay to let things go. That's okay. And it was, I think, that same night when I decided to let it go, where I was just laying there, and normally I would have been, you know, stressing over a post and trying to figure that out, and I was thinking about my story instead. And that was a really, really good feeling. I'm gonna try to put this cutie down again and get a battery, and then we'll talk about that. Okay, take 4,000 or something like that. If I didn't have at least a few notes, I would not make any sense. Maybe I still don't, but if you're still here, thanks for sticking around. It's nice to chat with you. This is like a real time how it is when you chat with a mom. Nothing is cohesive. You know what I mean? Anyway, the Butter book. Let's talk about it. And if you are new here, just know that we have been jokingly calling this book the Butter book, like a nickname, ever since I read Seven Figure Fiction, which is amazing. I actually want to reread that. That's going to be one of my goals this week. I wish she wasn't sleeping in my office because I want to go get it right now. But anyway, reeling it back in, I was reading that book where the author talks about how there's this quality that certain books have that just make them better, the way that butter makes mostly all food better. I'm butchering this, but you get the idea. She's just basically saying like there's like a tasty element to certain stories, and I won't try to explain that entire book, but that's kind of what I wanted to do with the Butter book, is just make it have all these elements that people love and bring in, it's not exactly tropes, but that's kind of the closest I can get to describing it without doing a full summary of that book. And we outlined that story in October 2023, I think, at this point. I have not touched this book since, oh gosh, it was probably that last vlog that you guys saw before my daughter was born, when I was reading the first draft to kind of remind myself of what was in it. And it was like right after that vlog that I read this. Sorry, again, she's in my office so I can't get the book, but I bet I can find it on Goodreads. These Hollow Vows by Lexi Ryan. Anyway, These Hollow Vows, right? This story, I started reading it, I think it was the last book that I read in 2025 before she was born, and there were so many similarities to my book, and they were all superficial, but even though it wasn't like a same plot, it still just felt way too similar, and it really, 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 really bothered me to the point that I was just like, I'm not interested in my own book anymore because it's already been done, and I don't want to just be a copycat, you know, even if it's an accidental thing. I don't want that. Like, the characters were both redheads. I had wanted my character to have an Enneagram 8 personality. That was definitely the case in this book. And what else? The character's name was technically Abriella, but they called her Bree, and my character's name was Bryn. And I think there was even, like, I had been debating about this kind of fun love triangle thing because I like love triangles, and there was one in this book, and I was just like, what's the point? I'm not excited anymore. I'm not excited about my own story. And there was also other elements to, like, the way that we brainstormed that she didn't know about Fairy, and, you know, people were taken, and then she's like, oh my gosh, they were taken, I have to chase after them. That just felt really generic, like it had been done before too. I don't know, it was just bothering me. I was like, oh, I know I can make it unique, I can make it exciting, and again, write the butter into the books. Like, I didn't feel like there was enough butter, I guess, to make it exciting for me to write it. So I just wasn't feeling it. To be fair, some of it could be postpartum feelings where you're just tired and you don't want to do anything. You just want to watch a movie. Yeah, but I have been feeling the motivation to work and like do fun creative things for, I don't know, like maybe 6 weeks now, 5 or 6 weeks, and I just have not been wanting to write, and it's kind of been bumming me out. Once I gave myself permission to let go of that TikTok experiment, it freed up the tiny little bit of free time that I have, and it kind of gave me room to start creatively dreaming about my story again. And I was feeding her one night and I was watching Pride and Prejudice, and you know, the Darcy hand scene, if you know, you know. It just made me feel like that's some butter right there. That would be fun to have, like a moment like that in my story. And I started a notes app in my phone, and I was like, okay, what else do I really like? What else can I put in there that would be really, really good? That same night, instead of, scrolling through TikTok, I opened up the notes app in my phone and I thought of a new first line and I wrote it down. And then I was like, this could be the second line and the third, the fourth, and I just kept going. And the next thing you know, I wrote, 709 words. And I had this like, I need to write this down feeling. I have not had that in so long, way before she was born. I feel like in 2024, all I wrote was, I wrote the bonus scenes for The Queen's Rise, which was really fun to write, but they were just little scenes. And did I write? I did write the Butter Book, right? I started the first half, I think, in 2024. I don't know. Dates are all a blur right now, but I'm pretty sure. It was fun and all, but it wasn't that, I have to write this down feeling that I used to get. And it just felt really, really good to finally have that again and be excited about the story for the first time in a long, long time. That was March 14th. And then the very next day on the 15th, I put the story into Google Docs because it occurred to me in this season of life, I just don't have the ability to be on my computer that often. Like, I don't even have both hands all the time. Oh yeah, you're gonna chime in on that? And yeah, sometimes I'm gonna move slower. Because, yeah, exactly, because it is what it is sometimes. We can't help it. But other times I do have the energy to work and I want to be doing something, and it just needs to be the right thing that will, creatively energize me instead of take away from my joy and make everything else harder. You know what I mean? I can't describe it. There's certain things that you do that make you happier throughout the day and make me at least a better mom, and I show up happier and I enjoy doing all the other things because I did something creatively exciting. And then there's unfortunately TikTok and social media and stuff like that where it's kind of draining. That was a bit of a tangent, but what I was trying to say before this keeps happening is I was trying to explain how if I write in Google Docs instead of, I used to write in Microsoft Word because that's my favorite, but Google Docs is something that I can also get on my phone. So I downloaded the app and I'm super excited because I already started writing on my phone as well, and I got another, 1,000 something words. So I'm past 2,000 words already in just 2 days. I'm so excited. I love it. I'm kind of winging it. I'm not really pantsing it because we did create a whole outline, right? But I'm changing things because, like I said, I don't want the generic, they don't know about Fae and then boom, they get shoved into the Fae world, and that's been done so many times. And I don't want to, copy the Holly Black style either. So I want to create my own thing, and I'm really enjoying a new direction. We'll see how it goes. Nothing is truly new, okay? I realize that. I realize that no matter what I do, there will always be some inspiration for it because there's just nothing new under the sun anymore, right? That's the saying. So Fae are definitely something that's been done a lot, but can I put my own twist on it? I'm excited to find out. Anyway, I don't really know how to end this vlog except to say, look at this. Check it out. This is what I was writing yesterday. And I don't know how to do word count on the phone exactly, but I can just click right in and start writing right now while she's sleeping here, while my son's sleeping. I feel like it's giving me a little bit of freedom back, and it feels really good.